All right, get ready for a deep dive into the world of ICT network engineers. Want the inside scoop on what they actually do, what makes this career tick, and how to break into this field? You're in the right place. We're taking apart this awesome guide from RoleCatcher, and it is packed with insider info.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
This isn't just your run-of-the-mill career advice. It's like having a secret weapon.
Okay, so let's just ditch those old stereotypes, yeah. When you hear ICT network engineer, what comes to mind? Because if I'm being honest, I'm picturing someone huddled in a dark room, surrounded by like blinking servers, trying to stop a digital
This is
meltdown.
the classic image, right? But honestly, the reality is way more interesting, more strategic even. They're like the architects of our digital world.
So less about putting out fires and more about, what, designing the systems that prevent those fires in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Think about how traffic flows through a city. Network modeling, which is a big part of their job. It's like designing the roads, the bridges, the traffic signals, making sure everything moves smoothly. And if the network slows down and crashes, it's the ICT network engineer who swoops in to fix it, often recommending cool new hardware or software upgrades. Plus, they're the ones protecting all that sensitive data, keeping the cyber threats out. They implement those robust security measures.
This is already way more dynamic than I initially thought. But where do they actually do all this? Is it just a corporate thing?
Not at all. While, yeah, corporations are big employers, from those giant tech companies to financial institutions, ICT network engineers are needed everywhere. Government agencies, healthcare, education, basically anywhere that relies on a secure network, that needs to run smoothly. They need these experts.
Okay, so there's a lot of variety there. But what about for the individual? Could you be an ICT network engineer and, say, work remotely from a beach?
Well, the guide mentions that remote work can be a bit limited, especially when you're just starting out. But here's a thought. With cloud computing and remote network management tools becoming more common, maybe specializing in those areas could be the key to more location independence. It's definitely something to watch as technology keeps changing.
Interesting. All right, so we've got a diverse workplace, potential for remote work, potentially evolving, that is. But let's talk perks. What are the big draws to this career, aside from, maybe that beachside office someday? Sounds like a pretty sweet deal so far. Diverse workplaces, the potential for remote work, maybe. But let's talk about the good stuff. What are some of the big draws to this kind of career, besides maybe working from that beach bungalow someday?
Well, let's be real. The salary is a big one. The RoleCatcher guide, it actually talks about the crazy high demand for ICT network engineers. And that means, great earning potential and job security. Music to any job seeker's ears, right?
Absolutely. Especially these days, that peace of mind is huge. But beyond just the financial side, what makes this a really engaging, exciting career?
For me, it's the tech. You always have to be ahead of the curve, learning the newest stuff. It's not just about like keeping the old systems running. It's about really understanding and using those cutting edge technologies.
So you're always learning, like a lifelong student of tech.
Yeah. And you're always problem solving, making things better, finding those creative solutions. And, as you become an expert, there's so much room to grow.
Yeah.
You could specialize like in cybersecurity, that's huge right now, or move into leadership, or even become a network architect. Imagine you'd be designing entire networks. So many possibilities.
Well, that's awesome. But I do like to, keep it real. What are some of the challenges people might run into in this field?
Well, because tech moves so fast, you got to keep learning. There's no way around it. You'll need to, get those certifications, go to conferences, really dig into the research. And the RoleCatcher guide, it really emphasizes those vendor-specific certifications, like from Cisco, Juniper, those are huge.
So those certifications aren't just a piece of paper, they're essential, like your ticket in.
Exactly. And, problem solving, it's rewarding, but it can also be really stressful, like when there's a network outage or a security breach. Those have a huge impact. The guide really stresses how important it is to have those strong analytical skills to be able to solve those complex problems under pressure.
Yeah, I can see that. Anything else people should be aware of? Any potential downsides?
Hmm. Well, you got to be okay with long hours, especially when you're first starting out. Maintaining and troubleshooting networks often happens after hours, and being on call is pretty common.
It's not just a 9 to 5 kind of thing.
Right. The guide actually suggests finding a mentor, someone more experienced, to help you navigate those demands and how to, have a life outside of work too.
So it takes a certain kind of dedication. But for people who are passionate about it, it sounds like the rewards could be huge. Now, for those who are hooked but want to really focus in on a specific area of ICT network engineering, what kind of specializations are out there? Okay, so we've talked about the exciting parts, the challenges, even that dream of a beachside office. But let's get practical. How do you actually become an ICT network engineer? What about education? Is it a computer science degree or bust, or are there other ways in?
Well, a computer science degree or even information technology, it's a great foundation, for sure. The guide really emphasizes really understanding how networks work on a deep level. But it's not just about, book smarts. You got to be able to actually do the work.
So how do you show you can walk the walk, not just talk the talk?
Certifications, that's the key. The RoleCatcher guide, it really hammers that point home. Think of them like proof you know your stuff.
Huh.
And some are more valuable than others, like the Cisco Certified Network Associate, the CCNA. That one can really open doors, especially for entry-level positions.
So the degree is like your foundation, and then the certifications are how you build your way up.
Exactly. But even with all the right credentials, it takes more than just technical skills. The guide talks a lot about soft skills, being able to think critically, communicate clearly. You're not just working with computers, you're working with people. Troubleshooting as a team, explaining things to people who aren't tech savvy.
Right, you got to be able to speak their language.
Yeah. And speaking of which, let's talk about interviews. The guide has some really good advice about what hiring managers are looking for. Be ready for anything, technical questions, strategic questions. They want to know about your experience with network protocols, virtualization, performance monitoring tools, everything.
Sounds intense. Any tips on how to really stand out?
The guide says show them you're passionate about tech. Stay up to date on those emerging trends like edge computing, network automation. Be ready to talk about what excites you about the field. It's not just about regurgitating facts. It's about showing them you're curious, you're eager to learn and contribute.
So enthusiasm is key.
It definitely makes a difference. And once you're in, the guide actually maps out a career path. You might
Yeah.
start as an entry-level network engineer, then move up to senior network engineer, maybe even move into a specialized role or a management position. They even have these profiles of people at different stages, which is cool. Helps you picture yourself there.
That's really helpful. Now, thinking about the future, tech changes so fast. How do ICT network engineers keep up? How do they make sure their skills are still relevant?
You've got to be a lifelong learner, there's no question. The guide really emphasizes that. Stay curious, embrace new technologies, look for opportunities to grow, go to conferences, join professional organizations, contribute to open source projects. The more you learn, the more adaptable and valuable you become.
So it's a career that's always evolving. But with the right attitude and that desire to learn, the possibilities seem pretty limitless. We've covered a lot of ground today: the core skills, the education, the mindset you need to succeed. What are some key things you hope listeners take away from this deep dive?
I think the biggest thing is ICT network engineering. It's a dynamic and rewarding field, and it's only growing. Don't be scared off by the technical stuff. If you're passionate about tech, if you're a problem solver and you love to learn, this could be the perfect career for you.
And remember, we've just scratched the surface here. Check out the show notes for all the resources we mentioned, including that awesome guide from RoleCatcher. That's it for this deep dive. Keep those brains engaged, and we'll catch you on the next one.